Hi everyone, welcome to the Glow podcast. I am here with Ardis today from Revive Spa in Farmington Hills, Michigan. And I'm just going to ask you to kind of go ahead and give a little introduction
Thank you. Thank you so much
and
for
who you
having
are.
me. I appreciate it. My name is Ardis Schmitt. I'm an RN,
Of course.
BSN. I own Revive Medical Spas in Farmington Hills, Michigan, as indicated by Taylor. I have a med spa that's quite large, offers a very wide variety of aesthetic treatments, both body and face. And I've been in business for about 8 years now.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I love med spas and I feel like right now it's so popular for people to go and get their aesthetic treatments there and you all do such amazing things. So, what kind of inspired you, cuz I know you were a nurse as well before starting your medical spa. So, what inspired you to kind of transition from your nursing into the aesthetic industry, and how has your nursing experience also
Oh,
influenced your
so
medical
I have a
spa
little
now?
interesting story. I'll try and make it brief. Wasn't Yeah, okay. I
No,
was a
as long as you
nurse.
want.
I started nursing in 1994. And then after a number of years in the hospital system, I did trauma nursing at Detroit Receiving. I did neurosurgical intensive care. I ran Hustle's emergency department. I did post anesthesia recovery for big cases. So I was a bit of an adrenaline junkie there. And then I ended up transitioning. I got tapped to go into a program to put up the first electronic medical records for the Detroit Medical Center, a system wide. It was like 8 hospitals at the time. And so I ended up in
Okay.
technology. And then our technology department got purchased by an actual computer software company called CompuWare. And that allowed me actually to take a step in another direction. I had been working in technology for a couple of years putting this up, and I liked it. And then went into banking. And I was in banking for maybe 10 years. I retired from Treasury Worldwide and was a director for Treasury Technology. And at that point, I was, do I retire? What do I want to do with my life? And I have a real love for medicine. So I didn't want to go back into the hospital system. And I had been pretty much my own boss for a long time and had a really strong business acumen at that point. So I said, well, maybe I'll just start my own business. And what would I like to do? And really looked around, considered that. I went and got about National Laser Institute. I did about 60 hours of training with them and just basically soaked up everything I could. And then I decided to build out my own med spa and get started.
Wow, that's awesome. That's such a story. I feel like you have not only your nursing background, but all of your background in technology and then also all of your background in banking. So I feel like it makes for almost the perfect business as a med
Right. And
spa
I'm actually
too,
a
which is
certified project
amazing.
manager as well. So from PMI. So, I mean, all those things together just really led me to this point, right? And it's funny, I say to people in life, you never know the experience you're getting in your current position, how it will apply to you in the future. But I almost guarantee that you can leverage that in a really good way. So keep learning, keep growing, and you'll be able to use all that you learn, even if it's a different industry.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I do feel like everything you do leads up to kind of who you are. And even if you don't think in the time you're going to be able to apply it in the future, I'm almost positive that there's a way that you're going to be able to apply it. And especially in the medical industry, there's so many different things to do. So I think that that's really cool that you kind of combined all of your experience and started your medical spa. So that's amazing. You specialize kind of in advanced injectables at the medical spa. What is the difference kind of? I feel like people that aren't going to a medical spa or people that aren't educated may not know this. And in coming from an expert, it would be amazing to hear kind of what is the difference between these different injectables that we hear about, including Botox,
Yeah,
derma
sure.
fillers,
I'd
all
love
of
to
those
share that
different
with you.
things.
So, many of my clients also ask that same question, by the way. So, Botox is
Yeah.
a neuromodulator. That means that it regulates your muscles. And basically, the injections of Botox will prevent your face from, or other parts of your body, quite honestly, from moving at the end of the day. So, Botox takes care of areas like the forehead, around the eyes. It can actually, these are depressors, so it can actually lift and open the eyes. It takes care of, it can do a lift on your jawline. It can do a lift on your lip. They call it a lip pop sometimes. It can relax your platysmal bands on your necks and reduce your wrinkles and the showing of the bands. Just as general, think about it as muscles have depressor and elevator functions, and each muscle is different. When you inject that with Botox, it has the opposite effect of what the muscle naturally does. And what that does is it allows that relaxation so you're not making a face that's going to form lines in your and that's basically the purpose
Okay.
of Botox. There are other purposes. You can use it for migraines. You can use it for masseters to make them smaller, make them work less so you don't get pain. Botox is probably one of the most studied drugs ever. It's been around for 50 years. It's very safe, effective. And I think about once every 6 months they come up with a new indication for Botox use. And it's quite amazing. We're using it in the medical field now for people with
Yeah.
spasticity and things like that to relax their muscles. I mean, just so many uses.
Yeah. No, that's very cool to hear about because it's not only just used aesthetically, but it's also used
So
medically
the
as well
other
for people.
item we mentioned was fillers. Fillers are basically used to, I like to say, enhance your facial aesthetic and to replace volume loss. Those are really the two big indications for fillers. So fillers will be used typically in temples that are hollowed out. Some people will have like a peanut head and we can fill that in. It's used to lift up your cheeks, your nasolabial folds, to treat the perioral area, to treat the jawline, to inject into your lips to give you a little bit of volume. As people age, they lose their volume, they lose their collagen, they lose their fat, everything slides down. And fillers are great at replacing that and giving you a nice refreshed look. And that's our goal. People can use them other ways, and sometimes people get distorted from them. That's not my goal. My goal is to make people look really refreshed and turn back the clock a bit. Honestly, it does an amazing job if you do it well.
Yeah. No, I think it's amazing what honestly the aesthetic industry with all of the innovations that we're coming up with. It's crazy for like the younger generation what when they're like 70 or 80 or however many years old, how much younger they have the
Exactly.
potential to look like you said. It's really just
Yeah, no,
turning
I
back the
think,
clock a
if I
little.
look at my mom at 70, she had a roadmap on her face and she was very aged. She didn't have uh, aesthetics to go get treated. It was like, I want to get a facelift, right? Because that's all there was. But I think that
Yeah.
medical aesthetics has become so mainstream, and I think the Real Housewives
Yes. Oh my gosh. I heard
on
that the other
making
day
this
too.
really well known, right? And now I'll be 70 in May, and I don't look like my mother. So that's, well, thank you. I'm not fishing for a
You look
compliment, but my
amazing.
point is you can definitely reduce your aging by doing the right things. Great skincare is medical grade skincare is really important. RF microneedling, amazing, gold standard to help rebuild your collagen. We call it collagen induction therapy, and some Botox and some fillers. And I don't wear makeup. I have a little lipstick on today, but typically I don't even have that on. But you can keep your skin much younger and healthier if you just take care of it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I guess what is one thing then you would say, like, if somebody came to you, and I know it's different for every individual, but say somebody came to you and they were in, say, like their late 20s or early 30s, and they're like, hey, I just want to kind of prevent the aging. What treatment would you recommend for an individual? And like I said, I do know it's individualized, but
So in the
typically what
case,
do
I
you
think
see
it's
that they
really
would need?
good to get a 20-year-old, 20 to 30-year-old into a really good medical grade skincare routine. And also, if they have the genetics that has created some lines already, because sometimes in their kids they do have those, then to start some, lower dose Botox to try and minimize and remove those lines really over time, and so that if they continue down that path, they're not going to get those. So I think those two things are really great in your 20s.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I feel like there's been a lot of talk about preventative treatments with Botox. Do you have
I
any
think it's
specific views
wonderful.
on
I think
this?
that anybody who wants to take care of themselves,
Yeah,
who wants to, have a great longevity of not having lines and wrinkles in their face, and, we can. That's the beauty. Available. It's
yeah,
everywhere. Every city has some place you can go and take care of yourself this way. That wasn't the case, think about it, 20 years ago. But now it's available for every single
yeah.
person, and this is what everybody should be doing to prejuvenation. And then, of course, for those of us who didn't get it in our case, and is maybe do the rejuvenation. And honestly, if you look at my forehead,
Yeah.
I don't really have any lines. I used to, but over time, getting Botox has great skincare, has absolutely diminished those till they're gone. So you can turn back the clock.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I think you brought up a really good point earlier, too, when you talked about the Real Housewives for a second. I feel like with people talking about this stuff, it is making it so much more, just bringing so much more awareness, really, to the aesthetic industry in general. And so, besides the Real Housewives, do you think that there's anything else that has really helped with bringing this awareness and transparency aspect to people getting kind of different treatments that are helping with
Social media.
their
I mean, that's
youthfulness?
probably the number one driver. People
Yeah,
on Instagram, people on TikTok, Facebook, not so much anymore, I think, but those two, I think, are big drivers
yeah.
in helping people to be aware of what's possible.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I feel like it helps too so much with the transparency when people are transparent about it, because I feel like even like 10 years ago, people just weren't talking about it. They were still doing it, but they weren't really talking about it as much. So I completely agree with you that people talking about it on
The
social
norm,
media has really just made it
yeah,
a lot more like, yeah,
it
exactly,
is.
acceptable
It's the norm now.
almost.
And now I have, a lot of my growth has been through referrals, and it's mothers, daughters, sisters, brothers, husbands. It's a whole universe now. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's so cool. And you mentioned too the brothers and husbands. Do you see it becoming more common for men to do it as well? Because I feel like for a while there was definitely a
Yes,
stigma
I
around
think
it
that
kind of
most
for
of
men.
my female clients have sent their husbands in because their husbands have seen their transformation and saying, "Hey, I don't want to look old. I want to get that too." No, and so I have a lot of, I would say, husband and wife teams that come together, one in each room. Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I think that that's so fun. And especially for men, too, it's like they're probably walking around with their wife who has had treatments and they're like, oh my gosh, she looks so good. And then, like, now
Exactly. And
I
that
want to look
has
good too.
happened. That is happening. And it's funny because I'll get men
Yeah, for
asking
sure.
me, do a lot of men come here? And I'm like, yes, a lot of men come here. It's become the norm.
Yeah,
Right.
no, we just need the men to talk about it a little bit more. I feel like the females, all of the girls and the females are talking about it a little bit more than the men. So we need them to get a little bit louder and bring that
Agreed.
transparency
Yes.
more to that too. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So kind of moving on to another treatment that you do, laser treatments, which are becoming obviously increasingly more popular. What types of laser treatments do you offer, and what are your experiences with them improving skin tone and
So I would
texture and
say
all of
my
those different
favorite
things?
gold standard is radiofrequency microneedling, coupled with what's called a cool peel, which is a CO2 laser. So we do, I'm going to be probably brief, but 36 gold tip needles, pulsing the face 1,000 times, shooting in energy, which is heat, which wounds that dermal layer. And that is an instruction for collagenesis to build new fibrin matrix, elastin, and collagen. That replaces the collagen. It's also known as collagen induction therapy that you lose every year. So at a certain point, you need to start replacing that to have that great tone, texture, lift, tighten, and reduce fine lines and wrinkles, and even help with blemishes and scarring. It also works for scarring. So that's great. And then what we do on top of that is we do something called cool peel. We go over the whole face in motion with a CO2 laser. The person can feel it. It feels rough. However, no one can see it because the magic is it does a scattered random pattern, so your eye can't pick it up. So it's 1 day downtime. You're pink that day. We use a microcurrent mask on you to reduce the redness. We give you aftercare. And then that particular treatment we do 3 times over every 6 weeks, 3 times. And then at that point, people look great. And then we just do maintenance once or twice a year because you're always going to lose collagen. And you want to come once or twice a year and get more collagen induction.
Okay, that's awesome.
For everybody
and so with the cool peel
yeah. We've been doing them 7 years, so we love it.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. With the cool peel, what does that specifically help with? Is that
so
the
everything
collagen
we
replenishment?
do in this treatment is to make more collagen. So the RF microneedling wounds makes collagen.
Okay.
The CO2 will take care of the surface and it'll actually almost peel some of that off, as well as, it's called cool peel, as well as the laser, the CO2 laser targets the water in your tissue and heats it up as well, also to stimulate more collagen production. And then at the end, we'll put on a we don't use exosomes, but we'll use something else called Essence that is a really, really amazing growth factor.
Okay.
And that goes into those 36,000 holes that I've made in the face. And that is also a collagen stimulator.
Yeah.
So all of the things we do in this treatment are to stimulate collagen, tone, texture, lift, tighten, reduce fine lines, reduce pores. It shrinks your pores. Dolphin skin. Nice.
Yeah. No, that sounds amazing. That's very, very cool. And how do you kind of ensure that your patients are getting the correct laser treatment with those two? Which one do you kind of choose based off of the skin type?
Anyone skin type 1 through 3, that's fair, people like me, can get both treatments. Any skin type 1 through 6 can get the RF microneedling. That does not excite the melanocytes and create hyperpigmentation or create hypopigmentation, so it doesn't create dark spots and it doesn't create white spots. The CO2 laser cannot be used on anybody that is skin type 4 through 6, and how I say that, a lot of people below the equator not getting treated. Tell me you're from Argentina? No.
Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense for sure. So
and we
it
do
really
that
depends on kind of their pigmentation and everything. Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. Awesome. So can you talk about combining these different treatments? Like if people are getting lasers as well as injectables, what does that kind
so typically
of
we're
look
going
like
to
for
want
clients?
2 weeks between the heat induction and Botox, right? So because Botox, you don't want to heat it up right after you put it in because it could denature it and not work. So we want to spread those out a little bit. And fillers, really what I'll do with fillers is they can get them anytime in between, like a good 4-week period. The reality is the fillers themselves are heated to thousands of degrees to sterilize them, right? So putting a little heat in a filler isn't going to change its properties at all. But I like to just have all the swelling. Deep swelling is 4 weeks, superficial 2 weeks. So I like to have all that out of the way before we do an injectable filler.
That makes sense for sure. And right now too, with just, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier with innovations in the aesthetic industry always coming there. You know, you can never, like, you have to always be ever changing kind of with your treatments because it's always changing. So what are you most excited about kind of with with the upcoming innovations and treatments in the aesthetic industry right now.
So probably once a month, I've got somebody in with a new device, right? One of the things I do is I'm the show me state. You have to bring it in. We have to experience it. We have to see good results before I invest in it, right? But in terms of trends, so the trend is somewhat moving actually to combine with the youthful aesthetic treatments is using a regenerative medicine and things like example cold plunge, red light therapy. I love red light therapy. I love blue light therapy. I can tell you stories about that. It's amazing, and yes, it works.
Yeah.
But you need the right device to use it. Infrared saunas, IV therapy, just obviously, we had semaglutide recently and taken off the market, right? All those are stopped now as of the 17th of March. So those are out of our picture now.
Okay.
But a lot of things that are moving in the way of more health rather than just aesthetics, right? So that's going to be the future trend, I think, over time. One of the things I learned a long time ago when I started and have kind of kept with is I'm not one to be the first one to get that cutting edge device that's supposed to do everything. I'm one to wait a little while and see what's happening with it. And I do have a group of over 1,000 med spa owners, and we all share information about what we have, what we're seeing, what we want to get rid of, what's not working, what clients are happy about, what they're complaining about. And so I have a pretty good insight into what's going on in the industry. Another one that I'll mention is called StimWave. That's an interesting one I'm looking at now. TBD if it works or not, but that one uses sound waves to treat pain.
Okay.
So almost every person I sit in my chair, it's interesting because you think you're just getting Botox or you're getting a filler. Well, I'm going to tell you, when I get in a chair and I tip them back a little bit, they start telling me everything, right? They just want to talk, right? And probably 50% of my clients tell me about whatever pain they have, right? And I thought, well, and I don't know if this works or not because I haven't proved it out yet, so I wouldn't attest to it yet. But it's an interesting new device that's more cutting edge that, if it does indeed work, will change medicine because people won't need to get pain shots, pain medication, steroids, surgeries. So it's quite amazing if it works. So that's kind of the newest trend coming out.
That's really interesting. I actually haven't heard of that before. So would it be like someone would have to go to, not necessarily like a medical spa, but like to a doctor or whoever to get this treatment, or would they be able to do it at home?
Major device. It's gonna cost somebody.
It's a full treatment.
Who knows? $150,000 to get the device. I guess you could do it at home if you're Paris Hilton or somebody. She has her own med spa in her house, I understand. But no, you go to a medical spa, or some chiropractors are now looking at it to augment their treatments, and pain management clinics and things like that. So orthopedic surgeons. It's going to be an interesting thing if it indeed proves out to be what they're saying it is. And it might. It's just like red light therapy. If you get near infrared and red light therapy combined in a device that's like a medical grade device, you can actually reduce inflammation, reduce pain, you can heal, you can help fine lines and wrinkles. I mean, there's a blue light, just its counterpart, which absolutely will slow down the P. acnes bacteria in the face. I have a client who comes, she's a runner and she's in high school. Her mom brings her to get the acne off her forehead, and amazing results. You just can hardly believe how that helps.
Yeah, no, that is crazy. I've used red light therapy in the past before there's a ton of benefits from it, like from everything from your skin to like cardiac health. There's a ton of benefits. But I know you were mentioning too that you need to get the right device, which is 100% true. You want to make sure that it's doing what it says it's doing, because there are a lot of people that are selling them that maybe they aren't giving you the full benefit. So do you have ones that you really like using?
The ones I have are probably too expensive for most people. They're in the thousands. Like even the handheld one I have is over 2,000. What I would recommend is you look for a device that has both red light, like red LED light, and near infrared light, both together to treat. That will get you results. If you're just getting LED red light, it's not going to get you results. Look at the specs on them, right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Try and get the one that has the most, I guess they measure lumens or something in there, to get to the best device. But like I said, you're going to pay more for a device that's highly effective, right?
Yeah. So sometimes it might be better to just go to a medical spa that has a device that
I think
has,
you should do both.
you know, what you need.
Yeah.
Have one at home and go to your medical
and then
spa.
Go home and just keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think too what you said earlier as well when you were talking about red light and kind of where the industry is headed with it not just being aesthetics but also more of a holistic approach to things. I think that that's really important too, because I feel like that is also promoting, you know, not just to look good but to look good and feel good too. Yes, that is awesome. So I guess, are there any parting thoughts that you want to end with? How can people find you? Let everyone know your social media, your website, all of that fun stuff so they can
Great, thanks. So
be involved.
Our website is Revive MA for Medical Aesthetics, REVIVEMA.com. We have a great website and you can book online, you can call us from there, you can read about all the treatments that we discussed and many, many more. And you can contact us that way very easily. We also are on Insta, and that is Revive Medical Spas with an S. So at Revive Medical Spas. And we post quite a bit out there, but I think your best way to connect is to get on our website.
Awesome. That's amazing. And I guess my last question too, before we hop off, what would be for somebody sitting at home, what is your best advice that they could take at home to take action towards, you know, just better skin and overall wellness?
Medical grade products. Don't waste your money on the cosmetic counter or the drugstore products, because the products we have, here's a big difference. The products we have typically have carriers in them that take that product deep into the tissue and make a change. Most of the $200 jars at the cosmetic counter do not have.
No, that's great advice. Thank you so much, Ardis. I really, really appreciated our conversation, and I'm sure everyone will enjoy it. And I'll also drop in the show notes all of your information so people are able to follow you. Thank you.